Hey, Dan Passarelli here. Well, the U.S. stock market was down for basically all of the day, had some ups and downs, stayed in the red, but the last hour of the day, it really sold off pretty much. From a fundamental standpoint, a lot of that lies on the fact that the Beige Book came out, and some of the things that were talked about is that they generally expect little growth in the months ahead. And basically, all the problems that we've been talking about still exist. When we look at earnings, the earnings that came out within the last 24 hours, we had PNC and Charles Schwab for the financial sector. And even though, in fact, let's look at a chart of PNC, even though that stock sold off after the banks had poor earnings last week, it still ended up gapping lower and continuing lower throughout the day, as did SCHW, Charles Schwab Corp. Kind of a similar picture here. It kind of sold off, had some ups and downs, but sold off when the banks got hit last week, and also sold off today, ending up with a hammer, which we talked about yesterday, so we might be able to get a reversal in Schwab. And also, airlines, UAL came out, and man, that one opened up and was trading higher for most of the day, but sold off pretty hard to have a very big red engulfing candle to close out the session. So we've moved from talking about basically fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, specifically on the market in general. So let's get back to the SPY from a technical standpoint now. Basically, what I talked about yesterday and the day before is coming to fruition. We ended up closing pretty hard below the 200-day moving average, and we can see that as a pattern. It's peeked its head above there before, only to retrace and head back lower. We didn't quite fill this gap that I talked about yesterday, closed right at the 50-day moving average. So tomorrow is going to be a very, very pivotal day for the market. If we fill the gap that was created 5 sessions ago and close below the 50-day moving average, I would expect some follow through to the downside. Those of you who heeded my advice by buying protective puts when the VIX fell below 20. You ought to be watching those. You should have some resting orders in. Those are not set it and forget it. If you don't take your profits on protective puts, they end up not working in the long run. This is Dan Passarelli. Hope that helps. Trade smart.